I wasn't setting out to make a statement. That isn't the way I work. It's just a statement grows out of what I do. The people in those photographs were friends of mine, and they trusted me. And I felt like almost an obligation to record those things. I didn't know anything about the technology, so I would take certain chances to experiment with lighting. One reason I guess I'm quite thankful that I'm the age I am, I was able to pick up the magic of the moment and work with it. That's my rush in doing photography. It's like you get to a place and you can do it with a flower, you can do it with a cock, you can do it with a portrait, where it's really kind of like you don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. You've like somehow tapped into a space that's magic. A church has a certain magic or mystery to it.
By 2020, the controversial photographer Robert Mapplethorpe had grown the largest social media following on the planet. His Instagram account is followed by more people than the entire Kardashian family combined. Yet, after years as a mainstream success, the artist returned to his roots to document the leather community of the queer colonies. Ever the rebel and savvy self-promoter, he has defied censorship, broadcasting queer sexuality to millions, and in the process, humanized the most enigmatic people of Stonewall Nation. At the start of the millennium, there was no facet of American life that was untouched by the queer colonies. Their most influential group is the leather and kink community. Tribes that formed in the early 1950s have grown and diversified. Their numbers give them extraordinary influence in elections, rivaled only by the evangelicals. They were crucial in handing Vito Russo the presidency in the 2020 election. However, in the puritanical United States, they have remained an oppressed group. Most Americans do not understand how a sexual fetish came to form a society, and why their flag is ubiquitous across Stonewall Nation. Nothing is as it seems in the queer colonies. A dilapidated warehouse can hold a most decadent bacchanalia. We are at the infamous mineshaft, where sexual gladiators congregate Sundays for a gathering, which changes locations every week to avoid tourists. Today, we are deep in the bowels of an abandoned military base. The only camera allowed is Robert Mapplethorpe's, but we have been granted unprecedented access. Viewers beware, the following images are not for the faint of heart. These freedoms did not come without a price. As the queer colonies gained visibility and power, homophobia reached a fever pitch, and the government turned a blind eye, so the queer colonies took matters into their own hands. Neighborhood watch groups, like the Butterfly Brigade, organized caravans for their citizens to travel in, part protest and part celebration. The clear message was, we will not be intimidated. Meanwhile, another plan was brewing in the mind of a Republican lawyer and lobbyist from San Francisco named Duke Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong made a name for himself representing the owners of bathhouses that were destroyed. He was a proud Leatherman, who argued sexual traditions should be protected by the law. Through clever political and legal maneuvers, Mr. Armstrong took his case all the way to the Supreme Court, and achieved the unimaginable. The colonies became protected as a religious organization in the eyes of the government. Its spaces became sacred, tax-exempt and immune to evictions. Mr. Armstrong has become an unlikely hero for individual rights. The colonies have challenged obscenity laws, and legalized public nudity and fornication, all under their right to religious freedom. The leather community has embraced its new status as a religion with gusto, staging elaborate sexual rituals for publicity, funding and pleasure. The kink and leather communities continued to spread their values of history and tradition, becoming an unstoppable political and cultural juggernaut.
Never gave a goddamn. I gave 21 grand.